Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, morning, wherever you may be. Thanks for joining the Sunday live stream. We're going to talk about the Bundesbank today and how they've said it hasn't been recently, but they've said that gold is an ultimate insurance against crisis, against currency collapse, against war, in times of war. And we're going to look at a very good book I'm going to recommend in a minute. We'll wait till it's 9 o'clock London to start. Before that, I'll say hello to everyone. Billy is here, by the way, as you can see there. There he is, Billy. It's always funny to do it with a camera. So we got Saxon Stacker, we got Billy Barnes, Dr. House, Cozy Fantuti. Hello, Cozy Fantuti. Chris Jones, Belly Dance Rabia, Music Lover Forever, Neil Han. Buy silver and platinum, you will be fine. Buy a lot of it, you can help others. Pablo Pina is here, regular viewer. Chris Jones. We've got James Rocco, Mickey, T4 Parts, Jillian B. Hi, Jillian B. James Rocco. James Rocco got a copy of the book. Yeah. Germany's Gold. I highly recommend this book for those of you who are into gold, not just as an investment, but also they talk about the history. It was published for the Bundesbank, the German central bank. And I know I'm not really, I don't have much time for central banks, but as far as central banks go, I think the German central bank, or the Bundesbank, is up there in terms of, having a little bit of trust in them, even though I don't think we need central banks in the modern industrial or modern society. Central banks, disrupts the market. But anyway, let's continue. Grow Mechanic is here. Pad is here. Evola's Sunglasses. Best wishes from Essex. Dave Martin from Cornwall. Alain Roy, bonjour de Montréal. Why don't you publish the live stream after airing? I do. The live stream goes, it's always afterwards. It's always published afterwards. It takes a little while for it to go on to the to be published, maybe a matter of 10-15 minutes. But there's always viewers of the live stream after after it's live. And you can go onto my channel and you go under live, and it's all there. All the live streams I've ever done. Chris Jones, Kojo Oze, Natasha Aitken. Hi, Natasha. Hokey Dokey, James Smith. Hi, James. Michael Robank, Paul Weens from Southern Manitoba. Chris Conman. Hi, Chris. Christina Samuelson. Hi, Christina T. Bob. Mark Fletcher. Any thoughts on LME futures to end 11th of June? Yeah, not significant news. I don't think gold and silver futures were even trading on the LME. LME is a base metals exchange. Historically, they've only traded base metals in the LME. It's only maybe 10 years ago they decided to launch of gold and silver. Basically, COMEX is the main futures contract. So not significant, that headline, in my opinion. Country Sister says, you were wise, skilled pro, but you kindly make sure we see Billy. Yeah, he is there, Billy. He's doing well. Happy Sunday. Belly Dance Radio says to Grow Mechanic. Spanish John. Hi, Spanish John. Chris Jones. Dilwyn Roberts from North Wales. Keys Aben says, good night, Billy. What about me, Keys? Just, I'm joking. Silverback Gorilla from Colorado. Greetings from Texas from Larry Farris. Spiderhead. Hi, Spiderhead. Andrew Watson. Can hear me loud and clear. Good. Music Lover Forever. Is it any coincidence the LME is going to stop trading gold and silver at the same time? France will announced they will be creating their own trading platform. No, it's not related to it. Music Lover, as I've said, LME is the London Metals Exchange. It's known for trading base metals like nickel, tin, copper, zinc, and things like that. They've tried to build a gold and silver futures contract, but it never took off, even when they started maybe 10 years ago. And it's no point of them listing it, so they're just taking it off the board. I don't think it's got anything to do with France. I think we should, that the news is not relevant. I'm not saying gold might not go up or anything, but wouldn't have anything to do with the LME. Rumpelstiltskin, nice to see you here. Probably quite early in Japan. Over here, Mara, do you believe there will be a Marshall type plan in the Ukraine? Who will pay for it? Well, the taxpayers will pay for it, of course. Maybe there will be. It's going to be more pork, for the military industrial complex, for the big corporations, for politicians, and for the corrupt leaders, not only in the Ukraine, but in the US, in the UK as well. We'll probably get involved as well, and probably the EU. Talking about the EU, I just saw that Macron has been declared the winner, so he won the election. Not a surprise there. Phoenix FP40, good evening, Mario. Yes, good evening, Phoenix. Sergio from Phoenix is here. Thailand digital nomad says love from Thailand. John McGiffin, hi John. Over here, Mario, may be a good week for FOMO, purchases of precious metals. Benjamin Mail, what can you do about food shortages and keeping our metals as price inflation gets worse? Yeah, it's tough, when it's tough keeping a hold of your savings when things are disrupted. And I think the inflation is just starting, or the rising prices, which is we're going to see a 1970s style inflation, if you want to call it. I call it rising prices. We had the inflation in the last 20, 30 years, and that flowed mostly to financial assets and real estate. And now it's going to flow into consumer goods, and I think interest rates are turning. And I'm going to recommend a video someone just sent me, and I watched it this afternoon, and I think you guys will like it. I'll wait until everyone comes on. It's almost time to start. Terry O'Neill says, hi, Mario. Hi, Billy. But yeah, I think we're just in the beginning of more and more inflation. And yeah, it's going to be probably maybe even a decade of inflation, I would say, or rising prices. James Rocco, how long can the paper markets jerk the physical markets on the chain? Well, there will be a time when even the bullion banks will go long. So yeah, everything happens for a reason, and gold and silver's time. Yeah, we have to be thankful, I think, that we can still stack some gold and silver. There will be a time, of course, to take some profits. And it's one of the reasons why I think having some miners is good as well. You take your profit in the miners and maybe keep your coins, but I think we're still far away from that. But this is the time to be buying or stacking, in my opinion, physical gold and silver. The time not to do it is when we see big spikes higher. That's when you sit and watch, maybe sell a little bit of it, take some profits. If you want to get into other assets that are undervalued, that's what I would do. All right, it's 9 o'clock. Joker Alpha. Hi, Joker Alpha. I try to say hello to everyone. Maybe I miss some of you, not because I don't like you, but it's difficult to keep track of everyone on my own. So yeah, the title of this live stream is Bundesbank says gold is an asset of last resort in times of war and crisis. And I mean, I could have put another headline there today, but I thought this is appropriate because right now, when you and I try to avoid reading too much mainstream media, let alone I don't watch any television, but you keep an eye on what's going on geopolitically with the Ukraine, NATO, the US, UK, China, and also what's happening financially and economically. And I think the world hasn't been like this probably even before any of us was born. I would say maybe late 70s, early 80s was quite rough. We had a change from inflation and then interest rates top. I think we are at the opposite end of that, where we're seeing interest rates start rising and inflation starting. So it seems to be the opposite. And we have like a crisis in the Ukraine that could evolve into a major war, because I think the West is trying to do regime change in Russia, and they're going to try to keep that war in the Ukraine going as long as possible. And I think that's a shame because a lot of the Ukrainians are suffering needlessly. Yes, that's why it's so important to look, I think, at this book. And I bought this book back in, I think, 2019 or even 2018. It was published in 2018 by the German central bank, the Bundesbank, Germany's gold. And of course, it's all about gold, and I highly recommend it. And we're going to come to a part of the book that I think is interesting. And the reason they published this book is because Germany repatriated a lot of its gold from New York and from the New York Fed and the Bank of England. And it took them a few years, back around the middle of the teens, like from 2013 to 2017. And I think Germany had an inkling that things were going to get, the powers that be in Germany, the Bundesbank, the political class, they knew that something was going to come up geopolitically, and they wanted to have their gold at home, and they do. But what I wanted to touch upon here is on the part where they talk about gold as a reserve asset. And I'm going to turn to page 74. So, and this is national gold reserves in a historical context. And this is what they say. So I've got a question here. Should I max out my credit card to stack precious metals? I wouldn't, no. Anyway, let's go to what the Bundesbank says. A country's family silver, interesting that they use the word silver, as an asset of last resort, a monetary reserve, a crisis currency, a means of payment. Gold has often taken on various different functions in the past, particularly during times of crisis. This was essentially true at the start of and during the Second World War. At the time, gold was an internationally accepted asset that a country could use to buy convertible currencies in order to pay for wartime goods and food. So as countries in Europe became occupied and conquered by Nazi Germany, the gold reserves of a number of central banks of these countries fell into the hands of the Nazis, who use this gold, among other things, to pay for imports of raw materials. So you see, when there's a war or a crisis, national currencies or fiat currencies or paper currencies become meaningless. And gold is the ultimate form of payment in a crisis. And unfortunately, I think we're moving more and more. This crisis is more and more escalating. I don't think the powers that be in the West, I don't think they'll stop anytime soon, continue to provoke the Russians. And am I taking sides? No, I'm just observing what's happening. And I think that is going to be very significant, not just for gold, but I think silver as well, and also for commodities. Commodities again, countries that are rich in commodities and real things, they're not just going to give up their important assets for paper money that could become worthless, because you need to understand, during times of crisis and wars, you usually get revolutions, you get collapse of empires, collapse of monarchies, and that happens every time. And when that happens, when the state fails or there's a kind of a big change, the currency becomes pretty much null and void. So that's why I think it's important to have some physical gold and even silver as insurance. And I think the other thing as well that's happening, that's pointing to a move higher in hard assets, is the inflation. The consequence of inflation that we've had, that is now flowing into consumer goods, into commodities. And that's reflected in higher prices. It's not the commodities or gold and silver that are creating the inflation. It's all the money printing and creation of money and credit that we've had for 30 years from central banks and governments that are coming home to roost. Chuck Mung, thank you for your super chat. Mary, your new moniker is Goldfinger, just like Bond's nemesis. You play golf and love gold. We will call Rafi Odd Job, as he's a really reliable sidekick. I wouldn't call Rafi a sidekick. I think he's his own man, but that's funny though. I like that movie, actually. I played golf at that club. It's called Stoke Poges. That's where they played golf during gold, that when they filmed that movie. It's North London, I think. Yeah, Stoke Poges. So just wanted to show you, if you're interested in learning about gold, not just how it's used as a reserve asset between countries, but they talk about the history of gold as money, as of coins, going back to Lydia, Anatolia, 2,500 years or so. They talk about the, how can I say, the qualities of gold, everything about gold in this book. It's very thorough, and it's got beautiful pictures of the bars that they hold at the Bundesbank in Germany. So I highly recommend it. If you're interested, it will teach you, it will help you understand better what gold is all about. They even talk about how you can see if the gold is good or not by using a magnet, so to speak. And they're very transparent. This is a kind of book that the Federal Reserve will probably never publish. Again, I'm not pro central bank, but if there is a central bank that I kind of respect, it's the Bundesbank. So yeah, they talk about gold as a metal, gold as about its extraordinary properties. they talk about gold as a means of payment, as a reserve asset, all of it. I'll just show you one of the pictures in the book so you can see. It's very, very good quality book. It was actually published in Italy for the German Bundesbank. And here's the part where they talk about the history of coinage. So there you go. It's got everything. There you go. It's always funny to do this in front of the screen. There you go. So I think I bought it about 4 years ago, and I paid 30 pounds at the time. It could be a bit cheaper right now. So let's get to your questions now. Joker Alpha, French assignats was 1789, 1796, 7 years. How was the transition out of the assignats accepted? Well, that's when Napoleon came on, and he put the country back on gold, and he said that his armies would never pay anyone with paper. So it wasn't very, you need to read. You probably have read that book, Fiat Money, Inflation in France, by Andrew Dixon White. I highly recommend that. They talk about what happened there, but yeah, the assignats and the mandats, they came as well together, or just after the assignats. They were totally destroyed because they issued so much of it that it became worthless, and a lot of people were ruined because yeah, and also the government forced people to use them. If you started using silver, for example, you could be imprisoned and punished with death, really. Grammar Hammer is reading Aftermath by Jim Rickards. I don't think I've read Aftermath, but I have a few of his books. BP, what do you think would it take for LBMA Comex to break, as it still looks like they are in control? Well, Comex has rules that you can do cash settlement. The worst that could happen, I guess, it's like with the, and I think the LME, is a bad omen. Not the fact that they stopped trading gold and silver there, but the nickel story where they cancel trades. That's something that could happen on Comex. LBMA is a little different because it's an over-the-counter market. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really expecting, a break there. I think even the bullion banks will have eventually to cover their shorts, and usually they will go long, but right now they have a big short position at the moment. Bob Hollyoak, hi from Rugby. Hi, Bob. BP, what do you think would it? Okay, we answered that already. Oh, Simon Morgan, the book is 1857 on Amazon. Well, that's I paid 30, so you see, not every price is rising. So that's worth it, I think, 1857 for that book. Writings on the Wall, Daniel's chapter 5. King orders the gold and silver looted from the first temple. He dies less than 24 hours. What's the name of the book? Germany's Gold. Hermer, Hirmer. There you go. how can Canada still not operate with gold backing? Well, no country operates with any gold backing really right now. Um, I guess Canada is part of the club as well, where the Fed, the Bank of England, the ECB, the Bank of Canada, they all like cooperate. So I'm sure that there's a lot of yeah, they help each other's fiat currencies. That's how it works. They're part of the club. And of course, Canada has a lot of natural resources. So you could argue that, the country is a deep storage. But yeah, it won't end well for the Canadian currency. I think the fact that there's no gold at the Bank of Canada. Echo says, I hope the war ends soon. Yeah, I mean, I hope to, I hope so too, but I don't think it will, because the West is really pushing Putin and he's not going to back down. Clack Taurus, did you read that some UK supermarkets are rationing uh, customers to 2 bottles of sunflower oil? Yeah, I did see that. That doesn't really affect me. We don't really buy sunflower oil, but you know, I went to yeah, I'll talk a little bit about what I did. I went with my wife yesterday shopping for her mom, because her mom is really she's almost 90, and she has carers going to her place. She's going to go into a home soon, and we have to shop for her every week for food. And my wife usually does it, but I went with her yesterday. We went to Iceland. Is a nice supermarket where she lives, Iceland. It's got almost everything, and it was fine. We didn't have any problem buying anything, so I haven't seen shortages of anything here in the UK. It might be some places, and actually, we bought quite a bit of shopping for her. A whole pretty big trolley, shopping cart or trolley, and it's just one 90-year-old, and it was like 56 pounds. And my wife said it probably lasts her 10 days. So prices have gone up, but they're not really bad yet. But I'll tell you about today. My wife and I went to Blue Water, which is a big shopping center or mall in the southeast London area, Kent area. It's the fifth biggest shopping complex in the UK, and it's been around for over 20 years. And yeah, we had some lunch, but the interesting part was that it's 2 levels, and the bottom level, I never saw as many boarded up shops as this. And I was telling my wife, if this keeps going, Blue Water could be in trouble because no one's paying lease. So I was surprised by that. Actually, I had seen it before, that there were boarded up shops, and they do it very nicely now. They put paint, they put really nice pictures, and so it doesn't look like it's closed down. But I saw rows and rows of shop closing down, and there are a lot of people having lunch. There's an open area and a lot of fast food places, and they're all sitting in this open area. They weren't going to the like non-fast food restaurants. I noticed that too. The life of Jules. In the event of a banking collapse, temporary closure, Cyprus, how distant would Glint be, in your opinion? Thanks. Well, if all your assets with Glint or your funds are in gold, it wouldn't really matter for Glint, because Glint's not a bank, and your gold would be in the vault. I guess the only way there might be something is if you've got, let's say, £100,000 in your sterling account with Glint, and that would be with the bank. I think they use, I'm not sure, is it Lloyd's Bank? But that would be in your name, and maybe you'd be insured up to 85,000 by Lloyd's, I guess, not Glint. So Glint is not a bank, and your gold is not held in a bank, so it wouldn't have any impact. Yeah, someone said whole malls in California were shuttered pre-COVID. I think Blue Water will survive, but it doesn't look good. I've never seen as many shops like that. And we saw this week we had retail sales drop for the second month running. So I think the rising cost of living and the rising prices are just starting to kick in. Unfortunately, it's going to get worse. Interest rates are spiking, and they're picking up not just in the US, they're picking up in the UK. They're going to make everything more expensive. And I also want to touch upon the fact that the central banks, they've been buying bonds for the last, well, since '08. All the QEs, they buying bonds, government bonds, and the price has been going up, right? And also investors have been buying bonds and selling it to the central banks. Everyone's like making money, but now everything's turning the other way. Yields are going up and prices are going down. Even the central banks are in trouble now, because I'm going to look at this article here. Oh, someone's just asking me here, Mario, what did your lunch cost at Blue Water? It was £51 with the tip. We went to a really quite a nice restaurant called Bill's, like Billy, Bill's, and we hadn't had breakfast, so I was hungry. But we had a starter and the main, and I mean, I had like what was it? Halloumi sticks as a starter, and chicken Caesar salad. My wife also had chicken, like a dumpling with chicken and something as a starter, and then she had I forgot what she had, but we didn't have anything fancy. We drank, had a soft drink, and that was it. Not even coffee. So yeah, things are not, in the maybe 10, 15 years ago, it would have been £30, and now it's 50. But if you had gone to a restaurant, a little more upscale restaurant, it probably would have been £100 if you had a little bit of wine and stuff. That's how much it costs. So I want to bring this up because this article, because I think this could be a problem that very few people are talking about. The fact that the central banks, with bond prices going down, they could be in trouble. So this is from March 23rd. So about a month ago, UK says Treasury will fund BOE losses on QE for first time. And ever since then, yields have continued to go up. I noticed this week the 10-year yield for gilts went up above 2%. Maybe a month ago, it was probably, I don't know, 1.6, 1.7. So this is getting worse. And who's going to fund, who's going to fund this? They say it's the Treasury, but who funds the Treasury? We do, taxpayers. So the UK Treasury will make payments to the Bank of England for the first time to cover losses from the institution's QE easing plan, according to the nation's fiscal watchdog. The forecast, if realized, would mark a historic moment for the UK and may prove politically tricky for the Treasury. It could force the government either to earmark future taxpayer funds away from other projects to compensate the central bank or increase borrowing to cover the costs. So we're entering a recession. Interest rates and yields are going up. Bond prices are going down. Bank of England has about half our GDP in bonds, and this is happening. I mean, this is just a cocktail for for more and more misery, unfortunately. And that's why I think it's more important than ever to have a little bit of insurance, especially if you have fiat currency savings, to have some precious metals or some kind of hard asset investment. It's not going to get better. It says details released by the Office of Budget Responsibility. I think this should be changed to the Office of Budget Irresponsibility, because we never seem to get any responsibility from the governments. Indicate payments of 400 million pounds to rising to 2.6 billion from 2023 to 2026. And if interest rates start rising sharply, or yields, and that's why the Bank of England is holding on. That's why they're like, not just the Bank of England, but all central banks. That's why they don't want to raise rates, because they will all be in trouble. But if the markets start selling the longer term bonds, they won't be able to do anything about it, and these payments will multiply, and it's going to be like a vicious circle. It's going to get worse and worse. So I think that's significant. And this will apply to all other countries that have done QE, not just the UK. All right. Go back to your questions. Monaco 64, it is good to see earnings multiples come down, like Jeremy Grantham has also been warning about. Just look at Netflix. Yeah, the stock market definitely didn't close very well last week. Am I expecting a crash? No, I think we're just like in the bear market, and it's not going to be like a crash, a sudden crash. I just think we're going to get lower highs and lower lows, and it's not. We could see an acceleration though in the coming weeks in the stock market, but I don't see a crash like we saw back in March 2020. Phoenix FB4 Bundesbank. Yeah, I spoke about that at the beginning of the live stream. I referenced a book that was published for the Bundesbank, where they talk about how gold has been important in times of war, in times of crisis, and that gold is the ultimate form of payment when you have wars. And my take on this is that I don't remember a time since I've been alive where things are so bad geopolitically, or perceivably bad geopolitically, with war, financial crisis, inflation. So I think it's more important than ever, and to have some physical gold, and why it's important. They also talk about how Germans, actually, they own more gold. The private Germans, not the Bundesbank, but Germans in general, own more gold than the Chinese and the Indians, because they've had 2 currency collapses in the last 100 years. So they know that currencies, fiat currencies or national currencies, can disappear very quickly, while gold is very stable. That's what they talk about as well, that gold is stability, really. It's not something that you buy to make money. It helps you maintain your wealth, the wealth that you've been able to accumulate and save through hard work. Yeah, that's what it's about. Mirror, mirror, you need a big clock on the wall. The room looks naked without a clock. I don't need a clock, really. This is more, yeah, it's not really, yeah. I don't think my wife would like that, a clock. We have a clock in the living room, pretty old clock, imperial clock, but it's in the living room. This is the study here, so. Michael O2, 1 ounce Britannia gold or silver ounces? Um, I, I think it's good to stack both gold and silver. I think silver is undervalued. Silver is a lot more volatile. Gold is a lot more stable store of value, but I think both are good. Glass FX. I used to watch you on Steam back in 2017. I still post my all my videos and even live streams on Steam. There's not much going on there right now. I also posted on Hive. Hive is a little better, but I barely get any Steam from my videos there. But it adds up though. Thomas Moran, do you think there will be a period of time coming up of deflation followed by severe inflation? Well, no, I don't, because we already have had the severe inflation. We're having the severe consequences of inflation, which is rising prices. Deflation is the collapse of the money supply, and we haven't had that yet. All those people who have been saying that we're going to get deflation and then inflation, they've been wrong. And even and I know people who have said QE was deflationary. I mean, which is totally ridiculous. They've been proven wrong. The thing is, deflation, by the classical definition, is the decrease in the money supply, and politicians, central bankers, and Wall Street in the city of London, they hate uh, money supply dropping, because that means less spending for governments, less profits for the bankers. So yeah, no, right now there's no end in sight to the really not inflation, but the consequence of inflation. We've had inflation for the last 50 years since Nixon closed the gold window. And in the last 20 years, we've been lucky it's flown into financial assets, but now it's flowing into consumer goods and services and commodities. And people are saying that commodities are causing inflation. No, it's the money printing and the credit creation that was the inflation. Now we're getting the rising prices. So I don't see deflation anywhere around the corner right now. Thoughts on cryptocurrency, Jack Smith. Um, I mean, I've looked into cryptocurrencies. That I was involved in Bitcoin in 2012, 2013. I still post my videos on blockchain platforms. I think there are some cryptocurrencies that have some kind of utility, but yeah, I look at it more as speculation, not like a store of wealth, a stable store of wealth. And I don't even look at it as money, really. So a lot of people disagree with me on that, but that's my view, and you can have another view. And a craft, all debt-based fiat currencies eventually go to zero. That's right. You're right about that. The only thing that has, the only kind of money that has held value over thousands of years are gold and silver. You know, you could buy a nice toga and a nice pair of sandals if you were a senator in Rome with an ounce of gold. And right now, I think gold is undervalued, because I don't think you could buy a really nice tailored suit and a nice pair of brogues or shoes for like $2,000. You'd have to pay a lot more. So yeah, but it's, you can still buy a decent suit for $2,000 and a decent pair of shoes. While yeah, if you'd kept you know, maybe 10 years ago, you could do it with $500, but if you kept those $500, you can't anymore. Angels to apples. I think Thomas Moran meant deflation of the M1, which means lower prices. No, M1 is the money supply. So there's a difference between deflation, inflation, and the movement of prices. You see, this book, I paid £30 for it in 2018. Someone just told me that right now you can buy it for £18.75. And even though we've had the inflation of the money supply, the price of this book has fallen. So M1 is cash in circulation. Cash in circulation, and also demand deposits. So yeah, that could go up, M1, or that could come down, but it doesn't mean that all prices are going to come down. It could mean that some prices might still go up. It depends on the supply and demand of the goods and services as well. Urban Sombrero. Oh, we got a super chat here. I didn't see. Sorry. Where is it? Oh. Alex Heldenby, LME exiting gold, silver paper contracts. Yeah, I've spoken about that earlier in the live stream. Not important, irrelevant, I would say. Why? Well, because the LME is a base metals exchange foremost. They did start trading gold and silver futures maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little more. It never really took off. And I checked actually a few weeks ago their gold and silver contracts, and it has zero volume, zero open interest. So it's not really significant in the scheme of things, I would say. Chris Conman, thank you for your super chat. If the Fed takes the federal funds rate negative, what will that do to the price of gold and silver? Thanks. Seeing that the US is the dollar is the major reserve currency still, that would, I think, really put a rocket up the price of gold and silver, especially if CPI and PPI are running at double digits. So that's what I would say. I'm sorry if I've missed some of your questions, guys. It's just really hard to keep up. But today I'm just doing questions. We did speak about the Bundesbank, but I think it's good sometimes to answer your questions because you comment a lot in my normal videos. Sometimes I have time to answer back. So this is a good time to do this, to answer your questions. Grammar Hammer, what do you think the real value of silver is? I don't know. I don't know what the real value of silver is. It's whatever someone else is willing to pay for it in fiat currency. But I think eventually we could get to a point where people try to value silver in terms of other goods if they let the inflation run away. But yeah, I'm gonna actually, good thing you asked that question, because someone sent me this video here, North Star's Bad Charts. It's a YouTube channel, and they do technical analysis, but they also talk about silver, the longer term. They go back like almost 80 years. And I highly recommend, especially if you guys are into trading, but even if you're just into stacking, you watch this video that I just posted there on YouTube, on the chat, sorry. And this is the title of it. And they talk about how if you go back to the 1930s, the average price of silver has actually risen really very steadily throughout the decades. Yes, sometimes we get the spikes to 50, then it comes down. But all in all, it's been a very good hedge against the falling dollar, paper dollar. So it's called Gold and Silver Chart suggests a new paradigm unfolding for inflation. So these guys, I think they were really good. I had seen them before on Twitter, but I didn't realize they had a YouTube channel. And they think we're just entering a 1970s style inflationary scenario or period. And I think they're right. But I would say that, yeah, silver is right now, of course, undervalued. And with where gold is, we should really be around 40 or $50, maybe even a little more. Well, the other thing about silver, um, I guess it's not the same if you just hold paper investments, but I started stacking bullion, silver bullion coins, but then I started looking into numismatics, and that's something I like too. So the value, a lot of coins that you buy, collectors coins, going back 100, 150. Even I have a coin from from the time of Alexander the Great. It's not just like money; it also teaches you about the history because you can see the different heads of state, kings and emperors. And yeah, I think they're really fascinating coins, and they're silver. And you can also notice, like with the British coins, for example, after 1919, half the silver was taken off. And then after 1947, and they took all the silver off, and you learn that that happened because of the war, because wars are expensive. And we've had, the COVID war, and we have now this war, in the Ukraine. And usually during wars, governments spend a lot of money, and in the aftermath, you get massive price rises. So that's the other thing as well that you learn. Lightning for thee, does this digital metals company now create competition for Glint? Similar entity or no? I haven't heard of digital metals. Um, I mean, there's always going to be competition in all walks of life. So, but I haven't heard about it. Freddie Moses, I have a gold plated Jim will fix it medal. Should I trade it for scrap or keep it on the mantle seat? Yeah, really, I wouldn't want to buy one of those. Indigo Jones, will sanctions on Russia hasten the demise of the dollar? More than, yeah, the demise of the dollar as a major reserve currency. Yes, I mean it's already pushed. Russian and Putin knew that that was coming, and the sanctions also prior to the Ukraine war, like after 2014. And there are a lot of other countries that are seeing this, and they're saying, we can't leave all our reserves in dollars. We need to diversify. So that will mean less demand for dollars, and countries will try to deal with each other where they can with their own currencies. Instead, why does you know Pakistan and let's say Indonesia need to deal in dollars? They can deal in their own currencies. So there you go. Physical copper, Thomas got, yeah. I mean, I'm in London, and I bought a couple of years ago. It's over on my shelf. 1 kilo of copper, and it was from Sharps Pixley. But I'm not sure they have any for sale anymore. But it's difficult to find copper. bullion dealers should sell copper, but not many of them do. Echo sovereigns are so expensive now. Most of mine were purchased for around 335. Now looking at, yeah, I mean, even with a drop of the price of gold in dollars last week, in pounds, we're still above 1500, which is near the all-time high. The pound got hit quite hard this week, especially on Friday, and I think that's a bad sign. And I think the more yields keep rising in the UK, the more losses the Bank of England will have on its balance sheet because it's got bonds, and the more under pressure the currency will get, will be under, sorry. BP, speaking of interest rates, I read that Brazil in 89.90 had a daily interest rate of 2 to 3, which compounded gets you a crazy annual rate. Did you know of anyone who experienced this? Well, I was in Brazil. I lived there, and my parents lived there to around 87. And even then, I remember people who had a lot of money, they used to play the money market, and they used to make 2-3%. They call it the overnight market. Yeah, and people did really well, but the majority of people lost out because the overnight rate in Brazil was pretty high, and it beat inflation. But eventually, the currency collapsed in the late 80s. It was the Cruzeiro or Novo Cruzado, I forget. And I do have a story, interesting anecdote from one of my uncles. He's still alive. He's a doctor, and at the time he purchased a house for his medical practice, and he completed on the purchase, paid the seller, and money went through to the seller, and they exchanged contracts. And the next day, they had the currency collapse. So my uncle was very lucky because he had his medical practice paid for, and the seller was holding the bag. So yeah, it was a really incredible time. By then, I think we already had left. We were living in Switzerland, but yeah, it wasn't. And I remember in '87 when, I think it was during my birthday in October, you can get many things in the supermarket. There's a lot of shortages. You couldn't get eggs and things like that. But, it had a big impact long-term economically in Brazil. But, the disruption doesn't last forever. That's the good thing about a currency collapse. You can restart again. It's the process into the collapse and the collapse that are painful, but it's actually the other side of it is actually a relief. Kickjack, thank you for your super chat. Did Duran ever email you back? No, I'm still waiting for Alex. He replied back to me and said, please send me a link of your channel. And after that, he didn't reply again. They sounded like they wanted to schedule a show with you. So I hope I didn't misunderstand. Love your show. And Billy. Yeah, I mean, I'm here whenever they want to contact me. I was listening to them, though, I think yesterday. They're good. I liked it. I didn't listen to them as much until you told me about them. Angels to apples. Do you think rising energy prices for precious metals miners will be the linchpin for the naked shorting manipulation? No, I don't think so. No. No, I don't think that has anything to do with it or will affect it. Because I think energy prices have outperformed metals prices in the last 2 years. And then the next move up in commodity, I think gold and silver are going to outperform energy. So I think it will be fine. Michael O2, have you heard of about a bullion dealer in the metaverse? No, because I don't, I'm not in the metaverse. I'm in the real world. I wouldn't have any interest. Echo, do you see any risk of VAT being introduced on gold? No, I don't. And why is that? Well, because yeah, um, yeah, because gold, I think there used to be VAT on gold, but there are a lot of people circumventing the VAT, buying gold from abroad and not declaring the VAT. And they did a lot very well from that. So the government just scrapped it because it would, but they didn't scrap it on silver because silver prices are still really low. So no, I don't think they're going to reinstate VAT on gold. If they do, it's good for us who. Well, I don't think they will. It would also not help the bullion market in London. And London is supposed to be the center for bullion trading. Shazam, Bank of America, they haven't shorted silver. They've shorted the futures on silver. Yeah, I guess. Well, silver contracts. Um, yeah, I mean, I was reading Rafi Farber's report this weekend, and Silver Eagles in the US, I think the premium is about 40%. So the price that we see, the futures price, I don't think it's gonna be there for much longer, and it's not really based on reality. I think silver should be more like 35 to 40, but the and that's what it is really, the physical price. And so it's like a parallel market. Wow, it's almost 10 o'clock already. It's going quickly. Pablo said the Duran and Mario on the topic of sanctions and rubles for energy would be a good economic monetary discussion. What kind of golf clubs do I use? Well, I've got mostly tailor-made. Yeah, tailor-made irons. I've got a Cobra driver. I got a Titleist 3-wood. And my other woods are tailor-made. And sorry, my eye. And I just bought a new putter a few weeks ago, Scotty Cameron, and I hadn't bought a putter since 1988. So I think I just wanted to try something new, and I'm really happy with the new putter. I assume you mean golf clubs, not gold clubs. Anna Kraft says, invest in your health too. Eat healthy, don't put poison. I agree. I mean, the word wealth, you got, it's like wealth, health, if you don't have health, you can't generate wealth. I agree with you. Try to avoid carbohydrates. Well, I'm not giving advice. That's what I do. Try to avoid carbohydrates and focus more on proteins, meat. my wife, she's cut back a lot on the carbs, and she's lost a lot of weight. I had to cut back on carbohydrates back in 2015. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and they told me to take metformin, but then I learned from Professor Hallberg, or Dr. Hallberg, Sarah Hallberg. She's got a good TED talk about diabetes. And yeah, and I haven't never stopped taking metformin in 2015. And basically reversed type 2 diabetes. One of my video, the video that I've have on my channel that has the most views is a video I did how I reversed type 2 diabetes. That I've got almost 250,000 views on that video. I think I made it in 2016. How I reversed type 2 diabetes. You might want to watch that. James Rocco, the old Phil Mixon putter, that he had like that blade putter, didn't he? Yeah. I have a Ping Pal too, or no, just a Ping Pal from 1988. It's a good putter, but I just wanted to try something new. Yeah, flog backwards. That's golf. There's another one. It's a joke, so don't get offended, ladies. Gentlemen only, ladies forbidden. That's the other meaning of golf. Frank, me, do you recommend exercising? Of course. I mean, the other thing I did after 2015 when I learned that I had type 2 diabetes, and I watched Dr. Hallberg, and the doctor here that I went to see. I tried to ask him, what it was all about. He said, "Oh, just take metformin." He didn't want to talk about it. He just wanted to give me the medicine. But yeah, I started walking a lot more instead of driving. I started playing more. I play golf all the time, but not all the time. But I started playing more. Yeah, exercise is important because you can still, if you exercise a lot, then you can take a bit more carbohydrates, because if you burn the carbohydrates, it doesn't become sugar. So yeah, exercising is very important. You have to change your lifestyle. And there's a lot of nice things that you can eat that don't have too many carbohydrates. So it's not that difficult. But for example, people always think that it's better to have cereal for breakfast than eggs and bacon, but it's not. It's much healthier for you, in my opinion. And I'm not a doctor. I think it's better to have eggs and bacon than cereal. Thomas K. Mario, could you make a chat with Jeffrey Christian? No, I don't. I think that would be a guy I'm not really interested in talking to. But I mean, if he asked me to come and talk to him, maybe I would. But I wouldn't want to really. I don't know. I don't really. Yeah, not my cup of tea. Rusty Benthammer, did you bathe in silver to help beat diabetes? Yeah, colloidal silver, I guess. You could bathe in colloidal silver. Akbay Guyan, I eat whatever I like. Yeah, I mean, you can eat, I think, whatever you like, as long as, but if you're at home and you don't do anything, if you don't lead an active lifestyle, and if you don't, if you're just sitting watching TV and not being very sedentary, if you eat a lot and you don't burn, the food that you eat, yeah, it's not going to be very healthy for you. Mark N, is our money insured? I don't know where you are, Mark, in the UK. If you have, well, currency really, because it's not real money, but if you got, if you put money in the bank, it's insured up to £85,000. I think in the US, it's supposed to be $250,000. And that works a lot of times, because if you have a small bank that fails, the FDIC or the UK insurer, they'll cover that. But when you have a big systemic crisis and the whole system implodes, that insurance becomes very, how can I say? Yeah, it becomes very precarious. So, yeah, it's time to go. We are at the hour mark. So thank you, everyone, for being on the live stream. Those of you who are here for the first time, if you enjoyed the live stream, know that I make a video every day as well, in the morning time, London time, and I talk about economics, the markets, and I do the live stream every Sunday. And if you enjoyed the live stream, think about subscribing as well and sharing it with other people that might be interested. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great rest of the weekend and a great beginning of the week. Take care.